Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this color combo gown with slits on the sleeve. If it's what you like to learn, kindly watch to the end. If you're new to this channel, you are highly welcome. And if you're yet to subscribe, kindly hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Without wasting much time, let's jump right into the tutorial. So these are all the material I'm going to be using for this tutorial. I'm using 3 yards of crepe fabric. The white is 2 yards, while the navy blue is 1 yard. My pattern papers, I'm using 3 pattern papers for this tutorial. My tape, my scissors, office pins, my pattern rulers, my zip, my thread, my pencil, my hemming gum, masking tape. Opening up my pattern paper, I'm going to place my tape from the tip of my pattern paper and I'm going to measure downwards to 2 inches. Then I'm going to make a mark on that 2 inches. Then I'll use my ruler to square across and I'm going to label that line my shoulder line. I'm going to place my tape on that 2 inches line that I marked and I'm going to measure downwards to 8 inches and 10 inches. Then I'm going to make a mark and I'll square across. Then I'm going to label the 8 inches line my chest line and the 10 inches line my bust line. So I'm using one side of this paper as my center front. So placing my tape on my center front shoulder line, I'm going to impute the half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.3 inches. So I'll make a mark there. On the point where I marked half of my shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'm going to make a mark. Then I'm going to come in by 3 inches for my neck width and 3 inches for my neck depth. Then I'm going to connect with a curved ruler. Then I'm also going to use my ruler to connect from my shoulder slope to my neck width. Coming down to my chest line, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.3 inches. I'm going to make a mark there. Then I'm going to use a ruler to connect from my shoulder slope down to my chest line. Then I'm going to mark the midpoint of that straight line that I drew, and I'm going to come in by ½ inch. Then on my chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of my round bust measurement. Now use my curved ruler to connect from my shoulder slope, so the ½ inch I came in by, to the quarter of my bust circumference. Placing my tape on my shoulder line, I'm going to measure downwards to my half length, which is 15.5 inches. I'll make a mark there and I'm going to square across. Then I'm going to level that line my half length. After doing that, I'm going to place my tape on my half length and I'm going to measure downwards to my hip line. The hip line I'm using is 9 inches. So I'll mark 9 inches downwards from my half length. Make a mark there and I'll square across. Then I'll also level that line my hip line. Still placing my tape on my half length, I measured downwards to my knee line, which is 25 inches. I made a mark at 25 inches. Then I also measured my full length, which is 29 inches. And I also marked my allowance of 2 inches. I made a mark there and squared across. Then I also labeled these lines. Now I'm going to start imputing quarter of my round body measurement. On my bust line, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. On my half length, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, which is 7 inches. Going down to my hip line, I'm going to mark the quarter of my hip circumference, which is 9 inches. I'm going to make a mark there. Then on my knee line, I'm going to minus ½ inch from the 9 inch I marked on my hip line, which is 8.5. So I'm marking 8.5 on my knee line and I'm also marking it on my full length and the allowance line. Then for my dart intake, I'm going to mark 4 inches on my bust line starting from my center front, and I'm also going to mark 4 inches on my waistline and on my hip line. Then I'm going to connect with a straight line. Then placing my tape on my half length, I'm going to measure downwards to 6 inches and I'm going to make a mark there. Then on my waistline, I'm going to come in by 0.75 inches on both sides of my dart line. Then I'm going to connect with a ruler from the 4 inches I marked on my bust line to the 0.5 inches I came in by, to the 6 inches I came down by from my waistline, just like the way I'm doing in the video. Then I'm going to replace the dart intake on my side waistline. After which I'm going to add 1 inch allowance on the armhole, from the armhole down to the full length on the allowance. Then I'll connect it with my ruler and then I'll cut it out. Before cutting it out, I'm going to add half inch to the shoulder for joining of the front and the back shoulder. After cutting it out, I'm going to eliminate the dart, and to do this I'm going to cut through the half length. I'm going to cut open the half length, then I'm going to redirect this dart legs to the armhole just like the way I'm doing. Then I'll cut it open and I'm going to close it like this. I'll do the same for the down part. After that, I'm going to bring the upper part and the skirt part together like this, and I'll fill the gap in between. Then after that, I'm going to place my tape on my half length, and I'm going to mark 3.5 inches downwards on the center front and 3.5 inches upwards on the center front. Then on the side front, I'm going to place my tape from on my waistline. Then I'm going to mark 6 inches upwards and 7 inches downwards. Then I'll use my ruler to connect it like this. After connecting with my ruler, I'm going to cut it out and I'll label it properly. After cutting it out, I'm going to get another pattern paper and fold it into two. And I'm going to place this upper part that has a neckline on it, and I'm going to add half inch on the lower part of this. Then I'll cut it out. After cutting it on fold, I'm going to open it up like this, and I'm going to mark the neck asymmetric neckline. So for my shoulder, I'm going to mark 6 inches downwards. Then I'm going to mark 3 inches on the other shoulder. Then I'll connect it with my ruler like this. After connecting the neckline, I'm going to cut it out, and that will be all for the drafting of the front pattern. Then for this back pattern, we are not doing much. So from the tip of my pattern paper, I'm going to come downwards by 2 inches, make a mark there and spread across. And I'm going to label at my shoulder line. Placing my tape on that 2 inches line, I'm going to mark my chest line, bust line, half length, my hip line, the knee line and my full length, and also 2 inches for allowance. Then I'm going to square across and label them as well. On the center back, I'm going to mark 1 inch for my zip allowance from the shoulder line down to the allowance, and I'm going to use a straight ruler to connect this line. Then I'll also mark my neck width of 3 inches and the neck depth of 1.5 inches, and I'm going to connect with a curve. I also marked half of my shoulder measurement. On that point, I came down by 1 inch from my shoulder slope and connected it to my neck width. Then I went ahead to mark my armhole curve. Then for my back dart, I'm going to place my tape on my zip line, and I'm going to come in by 4 inches. Then I'm going to also mark 4 inches on my bust line and on my hip line. Then I'm going to place my tape on my half length, and I'll come downwards by 6 inches. Then on my half length, I'm going to come in by 0.75 inches, then connect it to the 4 inches I marked on my bust line and to the 6 inches I marked downward, just like we did for the front. Then on my waistline, I'll come inwards by 0.75 inches to avoid zipper bulge. Now connect it to my shoulder line and to my hip line. And after which I'm going to replace the dart intake on my waistline. Then I will reconnect my zip side just like the way I'm doing. After which I'm going to impute part of my round body measurement and I'll add extra 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. Then for the collar on the neckline, I'm going to extend this point by 2 inches. Then I'm going to mark the width of 2.5 inches. Then I'll add extra 1 inch for turning it on the bottom part and for joining it on the neckline, making it 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches from this shoulder area to the 2 inches extension. Then I'm going to connect it with a ruler. Then after that, I'm going to place another pattern paper underneath and I'm going to trace it out. After tracing it, I'm going to add ½ inch on this side for turning. Then for the sleeves, I'm going to draft a basic sleeve and I'm going to minus 6 inches from my sleeve length. This 6 inches is for the part that has the slit. For the part that has the slit, the length is going to be 2. The longest one is 6.5 inches while the shorter one is 5.5 inches. That is 1 inch difference. Then on the upper part where I'll be joining to my sleeve, I'm going to mark my round wrist measurement plus 1 inch, the 1 inch for sewing allowance. So after marking it, on this down part, I'm going to mark the same measurement I marked on the upper part. And I'm going to add extra 3 inches. Then I'll use my ruler to connect it like this. And I'll cut it out. While cutting it on my fabric, I'm going to cut the longest layer first before cutting the shorter one. Then I will also go ahead and cut all the other patterns on my fabric. So guys, I was done cutting all the fabrics and as you can see, I added ½ inch to the ones I'll be joining, and that will be all for the drafting of this gown. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to join these pieces together. Please guys, encourage me by hitting on the subscribe button. It means a whole lot to me. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and drop a comment. Thanks for watching. Bye.